The Republic of South Africa was one of the first countries to employ wheeled tanks. As it turns out, this configuration is just better suited for the vast expanses of South Africa than the conventional tracked one. And the good news is that there are quite a few wheeled tanks for you to try in War Thunder. Today we'll share some tips on how to use these speedy vehicles to bring your team to victory. At Rank 2, there are 2 Sark armored cars waiting for us in the South African part of the British tech tree. Thanks to their decent mobility, they're very good at flanking. And their powerful guns with good elevation angles are very easy to use on uneven terrain. As the Sark is a pretty big target, you have to be very careful on the battlefield. Use your solid shots to hit enemy weak spots, like the turret cheeks of the Soviet T-34 or the German Panzer IV. The gun of the Sark is not very powerful, but it has a very quick reload. Just keep in mind that some enemies are not worth engaging, especially the German SDKFZ 234. Thanks to their small size and excellent mobility, this armored car can easily deal with you in a one-on-one scenario. The Concept 3 is an early prototype of the Rooikat. Its size, layout, and axle configuration are very reminiscent of what you see on the Rodkampfwagen or the ZLT-11. But its optics and armament, which was literally a gun taken from the Comet, pushed it into a domain that is normally occupied by the tanks of World War II. The vehicle has excellent elevation angles, a good fire rate, and punchy solid-shot rounds. Just keep in mind that those have a pretty limited post-penetration effect. As the turret turns rather slowly, the Concept 3 isn't much of a brawler, but it shines as a highly mobile and powerful tank destroyer that makes careful use of terrain features and engages its targets at medium range. The Rotel 90 is more of an IFV with a cannon than a wheeled tank. Compared to other South African wheeled tanks, it has very little armor and can be defeated even with small caliber machine gun fire. In order to be effective with this vehicle, it's very important to take advantage of the low profile of your turret and make use of every terrain feature that can hide your massive hull and protect it from enemy shells and artillery strikes. The Rooikat is the most powerful wheeled armored vehicle available to the armed forces of South Africa, and one of their symbols. The Mark I is a production model armed with a 76mm cannon. Its rounds have no difficulty penetrating armor, but struggle to do actual damage. The trick to defeating enemy tanks with this gun is to aim for their mantlet or the gunner. Another option is to shoot them at such an angle so that your shell goes through the vehicle and creates as much spalling as possible. The good news is, that's the only caveat that there is. In other regards, the Rooikat is a classic wheeled tank that is superior to a lot of its counterparts due to its excellent mobility, good optics, and a modern fire control system. A down-tiered Rooikat can reliably be the first vehicle to get to the best sniping spots on the map, even behind enemy lines. You don't want to be hit with return fire under any circumstances, though, so try to prioritize solo targets that stray from the pack. As a way to solve the problem with low damage output, engineers introduced the Rooikat MTTD prototype. What can we say? As any veteran of high-rank battles in War Thunder can attest, APF SDS rounds fired from a 105mm gun are very powerful indeed. The excellent mobility of the vehicle allows you to feel comfortable even when engaging high-tier enemies, and your autoloader is as fast as an ace crew, meaning that you have a sizable advantage against many MBTs. On the other hand, the turret that houses the autoloading system is poorly protected, and with 3 crew members instead of 4, this Rooikat has an even harder time surviving enemy attacks. Furthermore, the vehicle doesn't have access to smoke screens, which are often considered essential for the survival of modern tanks on the battlefield. In other words, that gives you only 2 options. Either keep your distance or be extremely aggressive and up close, giving your opponents no space or time to react. The premium Rooikat 105 is basically an MTTD without an autoloading system. At the same time, it's equipped with smoke grenade launchers, has a crew of 4, and can use the heavier DM33 APF SDS round with even better penetration capabilities. Tactics-wise, the premium Rooikat plays pretty much like the MTTD, but is a bit more beginner-friendly. The ZA-35 is an anti-air system based on the Rooikat chassis that was fitted with a radar and a couple of autocannons. It combines the superior mobility of wheeled tanks with anti-air capabilities of proper SPAAGs, allowing it to be equally effective when engaging enemy helicopters or when destroying MBTs with a cheeky flank. The autocannons of the ZA-35 are functionally identical to Swiss Ehrlichen guns. Due to some peculiarities in their design, the South African autocannon doesn't have access to the APDS belt, but that doesn't mean that it's any less effective against light vehicles. Another thing is that your enormous radar makes you rather easy to spot, but keep in mind that you can always fold it behind the turret and still rely on the optical system to track your targets. Just keep monitoring the relevant sectors of the sky. Finally, we simply have to mention one of the experimental prototypes of the Rooikat, the development of which involved input from engineers outside of South Africa. We're talking, of course, about the Class 3P tank. Compared to other prototypes, this vehicle has no thermals, but is fitted with more powerful optics, with 16 times zoom and improved armor. Not to mention the elephant in the room. The Class 3 is really big, even by wheeled tank standards. And you know what? This beast can survive a lot of situations that would be lethal to any other light tank. South African wheeled vehicles are a great pick if you like to stay on the move and enjoy never-ending action. Have we mentioned any of your favorites? Share the names of your favorite wheeled tanks in the comments below.